Venom: Let There Be Carnage is a movie that I fully expected to not enjoy. It's a movie that I have been on record saying that I think is going to suck. The trailers really didn't do anything for me, but the second trailer did impress me a little bit. And I put my expectations for this movie very, very low going into it because I don't really think the first Venom is great, but I still very much enjoy watching that movie. I think it's a fun time to watch. And now that I've seen the movie, due to the fact that I put my expectations low for this movie, I really didn't expect anything or didn't want anything out of the movie. I was actually very impressed with how well this movie was made compared to the first one. I think it is very much better than the first Venom. However, it's really nothing special. It's a little bit the same as the first movie, but everything the first movie did is done better and written better in Venom: Let There Be Carnage. The chemistry between Eddie Brock and Venom and the character writing is done a lot better in this movie. Carnage is a better villain in this movie than Carlton Drake was or how Riot was in the first movie. The dialogue for the most part is better overall in the second movie than it is in the first movie. It's not as clunky as it was in the first movie. And the story for the most part is better than the first one. But it still has its cheesiness stuff that it had in the first movie. Much like how the first Venom didn't take itself seriously, it's kind of the same way in the second one, although there are efforts to make it just a little bit more less cheesy, but it still embraces that cheesy and goofiness that I would guess made the first one special. Me as a comic book fan, I don't really expect much from a Carnage story. There really isn't any good Carnage stories out there besides maybe Maximum Carnage. Carnage as a character isn't anything more than a guy is in prison, he hates the world, he breaks out of prison and starts creating some rampage. So there isn't that much to work with when adapting that character into a movie. For the most part, comic book fans only really like Carnage because he's a cool looking character and he's a little bit more sinister and violent. People don't really like Carnage for his intense character-driven stories. So there really isn't that much to work with when adapting his character into the movies, and in the movie, they did his character pretty well. They did everything that you pretty much can do with the Carnage character and a Carnage story. It isn't anything groundbreaking, there's nothing really special about it, but it's also not bad. It's just serviceable enough. It's just good enough. And honestly, good enough is enough for me. I know a lot of people wanted this movie to be rated R because Carnage is in the movie. We know how sinister and how violent Carnage is in the comics. Personally, for me, I don't really care whether or not I see blood when Carnage starts killing people. It would just be a bonus for me. It wouldn't really be a necessity. A lot of people die in this movie at the hands of Carnage, and I don't really think adding a lot of blood to those scenes would make the movie better. It would just be a bonus. I would gladly take it, of course, if I was given the option, but to me, it's not necessarily needed. You get the idea that Carnage is a serial killer in this movie. You get that this guy's twisted in the head. Having blood there is just complimentary. I know there are a lot of people who might disagree with you there, and that's totally fine. I understand it because newer comics actually show graphic depictions of Carnage's violence, but I don't know. I've seen Carnage in plenty of PG-13 settings, so I'm kind of used to him being that way. So him being in a PG-13 movie is kind of like the standard for me. But anyways, all the other characters were done pretty well. The actors did a really, really good job. I thought Shriek was done pretty okay. Annie was pretty cool. Dan was pretty cool. For the most part, the humor is done very well in this movie than it was in the last movie. There were a lot of times where I was laughing at the first Venom than I was with the first Venom. Now, there are times in this movie where I'm laughing at the movie, but I think for the most part, I'm laughing with the movie because of how well the jokes were done. Overall, the movie really isn't anything special. You basically saw the entire movie in the trailers, not because the trailers spoil anything, but because there isn't that much there in the movie. However, it isn't outright bad. It's pretty ridiculous and it's pretty cheesy and it doesn't take itself seriously, but it's very much enjoyable. I was sitting in the theater telling myself, I'm enjoying myself. I like what I'm seeing. Nothing here is anything special, but I'm having a good time. And if that's how I'm feeling, that's enough for me. If there's one thing I didn't like about the movie, it's Carnage's voice. I don't really like his voice being basically Riot's voice, just Venom's voice, but a little bit more deeper. I really wish Carnage sounded like Samantha from Call of Duty Zombies.
Bye bye.
If you enjoyed the first Venom, there's a good chance you're probably going to like this movie. However, if you didn't like the first Venom, I do think there is a chance you might like this one better because it basically does everything the first movie did, but better. I know a lot of people want to talk about the end credit scene. I'm not going to do it because of spoilers, so go ahead and watch it for yourself, but it is pretty great. My theater went absolutely crazy when something happened, but it's great. There's my review of the movie. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. And that's it for me, folks. Have a good one.